Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome to Forza Horizon 4 and yeah, I don't think I have ever mentioned this game or this franchise ever on this channel before, like in any video ever. And I have 3 months of Game Pass, and Forza is a fairly popular racing franchise, and as you guys know, I'm a very big racing fan, and so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. I never really liked simulation games, so that's why I never tried the Motorsport series, and I figured Forza Horizon 4 was kind of a similar deal, and so that's why I never got into it. But I figured I would give this a try, even though it is, like I said, more on the realistic side, nothing near to a sim or anything like that, but I wanted to give it a try, and this is live, by the way, so I'm here, I guess, starting a new street race, I think. So with my favorite car, the Audi TTS Coupe. Now, it's not the RS, but it is the Coupe, and I don't know, I kind of like the Coupe a bit better because it flows better in terms of the back. Like, there isn't that spoiler. This one has a pop-up spoiler, which I really like, and I modified it so it's, I believe, S2 class. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of talk while I go ahead and play. Now, keep in mind, I really don't have that much playtime in this game, so I'm definitely not the best whatsoever, and I fully acknowledge that maybe if I was a much better driver, I would enjoy this game more, but the title of this video is that Forza Horizon 4 is boring. And it's a boring game, and because, there are a lot of reasons, in my opinion, why that is. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that where I come from, a racing standpoint, the first like actual racing game that I played that I like fully invested myself into was Speed Racer, and so my sense of speed and my sort of expectations when it comes to how fast I should be going in a virtual car is kind of skewed, and I totally admit that. And so if you play Horizon 4 and you love the game, don't this is not me bashing on the game or whatever. I can absolutely say that this is like a solid game in terms of, looking at it objectively, right? But I'm just kind of giving you guys my opinion in my eye and like what I think of the game. And like I said, I think it's boring. And again, my whole sense of speed and how fast I think I should be going in a car is just so skewed. And that's why I also love the Asphalt franchise, because it does incorporate real life cars, but because you have nitro, because you have airspeed, because you have all this different stuff, you're never really going too slow like you are in this game in terms of, just raw speed. But in this game, this is the fastest car I have right now. Like I said, I've upgraded it, so it's like an S2 tier class car, which, so I believe that is the fastest tier of car you can get. And as you can see, I'm keeping up with like this FXXK in the second place here, and then the Maserati MC12 up there. I'm kind of getting past. I just passed the FXX there, actually. Oh, did I miss that? I don't know if I missed that, but I think no. I think we're good. So I'm going to continue on going. So first of all, you can see my speedometer down there. Rarely do I ever go above 200 miles an hour, and just seeing that gives me that rush in a racing game. Just even seeing that number go beyond 200, 300, 400, that is, oh god, that was not a, I'm off the road now. Anyway, oh, there's that, whatever, is that a Lancia? I think that's a Lancia that just passed me. Oh, is that FXX? No, I don't know what that is. All right, finished third, I think. Oh, fourth. Oh, okay, whatever. So just being, seeing that speedometer kind of gets me in that like zone of like, oh, I'm going fast. Oh god. And you don't really get that in this game, unless, of course, you have, like, a track that is built for high-speed cars, and you can do that. Like, I'm not saying that's not impossible in this game. It just doesn't really happen that often. And, it just kind of gets me down when, and yes, I did name myself Speed in this game, because, I kind of had to. So, oh, I have to go back to the festival, I guess. Now, this brings me to another point, because I did rant about the speedometer for a very long time, and I apologize about that. But look at this. I can't fast travel. Now, I know it's a very controversial thing to complain about something like this. Some people really like the idea that you can't just fast travel to every event. You have to drive to your event, or I guess in like other open world games, you have to walk, or you have to run to your event, or whatever. But in this game, I don't see why I need to do this. Now, there are some places where you can fast travel, but like as you can see right now, I can't fast travel to this, so I have to just drive there. And it takes a while sometimes if you're on the other side of the map, and it's just so infuriating. And then you hit trees like this stuff if you're trying to take a shortcut. And yeah, I don't see the need for this. I really don't. And this, in my opinion, kills the mood between high speed and high intense races. Like, oh god, now I have to drive all the way over to my next event, which is, I don't know, let's say like 5 miles away, and there's a giant forest in the middle. So yeah, I could go around, but like, oh, I want to go through, and then you start hitting all these trees like I just did back there, and it's just so aggravating, and it just takes up so much time that I think is just completely wasted by just driving to your event. Like, why can't I just start the event like in a Need for Speed game? Usually you're able to do that. So that's another thing that kind of grinds my gears of this game is, like, why do I have to drive to everything? Why can't I just start the race? I know that's, you could call that a nitpick, sure, but in my opinion, like, I've wasted so much time just driving to an event that, like, it really just kills the mood for me. And, you know, I've repeated this 1,000 times already, but I just don't see it as for this game. So yeah, here we go. We're in spring now, I guess, and that kind of leads me into the next point I had, which is just in regards to the game itself. You know, the weather system and more along the physical aspects of this game, including the location. This game looks pretty beautiful. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think it looks pretty good. Let's decide to go to a race here, I guess. I was not paying attention to whatever the person was saying on the intercom or whatever. But you know, it looks beautiful, and the graphics, by the way, I am running on ultra settings at 1080p, by the way. So this is, if you haven't seen what the game kind of looks like on ultra, this is what it does look like. But like, if I stop for a moment on top of this like hill, and I just look, like, it looks pretty good. Like, it looks pretty scenic, you know, scenic, I guess is a good word. Like, the scenery, I guess, is pretty good. Now, I would argue that a game like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is better, because if you look at this, and again, you know, this is my opinion on it. You guys might think this is the greatest map of all time, but look at how flat and boring that is. Like, I don't want to drive through this. Like, I have no inspiration to drive through this. I praise the Need for Speed World map a lot in some of my videos and when I'm talking to people, because it's in a city. And so you have these giant buildings and landmarks and all these different interesting things that you can look around the map and drive to and just look at and admire. You have like the big area where you drive along a dam, and so you can see like the whole area and the city looking you know, on top of the river or whatnot. And it's just such a beautiful game. Not necessarily because of the graphics. Like, if you look at this game, I mean, obviously the graphics are better than Need for Speed World, which came out 10 years ago, I think. But I think the world looks so much more better than this game, because it's just, this world is boring. Like, I know it is based off of you know, the real life United Kingdom, and for some people that might be awesome. But for me, I think it's just boring. Like, if I stop right here, like, yeah, it might be gorgeous sometimes, but nothing's happening. Like, I don't hear anything. Whereas if I stop in a game like Need for Speed, especially the newer ones that have, like, you know, upgraded atmosphere and all that sort of stuff, you can hear the, you know, other cars, and you can hear like just the city in general, and I think that just makes it so much better and just so much less boring than this game. And I don't know, like, if the next Horizon game is set in a city, like, I believe I was talking to someone and he said that they had rumors that this game actually was going to be set in Tokyo. Like, that would have been awesome. Like, you could have had like the canyons and stuff, you could have had the city. Like, that would have been a perfect location, in my opinion, for this game. But I guess that they didn't really want to do that. They wanted to do this. And you know, also going along with the physical features of this map, and going alongside of that whole you have to drive everywhere you go to, you saw me cutting to where I had to go just by driving through the wilderness, I guess if you want to call it. And that leads me to another point. Like, a lot of this map is destructible, and on one hand, that's a good thing. Like, you saw what I just did right there. If you have to go to an event, you can just straight up drive through wherever you need to go. And oh god, the traffic cars, oh my god, there's 3 of them lined up. That was awful. But when you do that, it doesn't make the map feel complete. It makes it feel brittle and it makes it feel hollow. Whereas in a Need for Speed game, and I know I keep mentioning this to Need for Speed because really the only other big racing game that I played that I guess you could call is grounded in reality somewhat is Need for Speed. Like I started with Need for Speed Carbon, so don't worry, I'm not some guy who like started with Need for Speed 2015 or, well, I guess that's not a bad game, but you know what I mean. Like I'm not a person who's just started playing Need for Speed. I've been playing the Need for Speed franchise for, gosh, almost 10 years now, or pretty much 10 years now that I think about it. I think I got Carbon back in 2008 or 9 or something like that. So yeah, I haven't played all of them because like I didn't really care for the shift games. But anyway, I digress from that. My point is that I felt like the Need for Speed worlds are much better than this. And this is just kind of dull and bland. And I don't really enjoy driving around in this type of environment. And so, you know, I don't enjoy looking around. I don't really care for it that much. I mean, you know, every once in a while I'll stop and look and say, like, you know what, that doesn't look half bad. And of course that's because I'm playing a game, I think this was released in 2018. So the graphics are odd to be good, when of course compared to something like Need for Speed World. But on the other hand, as you can see right now, I'm driving through night and it's just kind of flat. Like there's not anything that like pops out to me except for the flares. Like that's it. That's all I really see. And I know the point of a race is to win, right? And so having a distracting environment might actually be bad. And I get that. But in Need for Speed, it's not like the environment was so distracting that you had to look, right? Like you could easily tune out the environment and then when you're free roaming, kind of look around and say like, whoa, that's like a really neat building or something like that. But in here, you don't really care to look at much of anything most of the time. And so it just doesn't create a very good environment. And so rate tuning setup, sure, I like this person's tuning setup. It got me to S2 class, so that was cool. Yeah, and also, like, I want to talk about the progression here. I guess if you want to call this a story, it is a story, but like it's just race after race after race, and sure, it feels like somewhat of a progression because I'm like earning money and earning influence, which by the way, that just like, ugh, earning influence. I don't know. You have your own opinion about that. I don't know. I kind of feel a bit weird about like having this whole thing around influence. Like there's this whole theory, and I'm not going to go into this because it's stupid, but about why there aren't a lot of smartphones in movies, and that's because audiences don't want to be reminded that they have that they spend a lot of time on. And so having this main experience thing be influence, like, I don't know, I don't want to worry about my Twitter feed when I'm playing a racing game. I know that's not actually what you do in the game, but I think you guys catch my drift. But I'm going to do one more race and then end my rant there, because obviously I'm kind of going on, and I don't really like to have a video that just kind of repeats the same things over and over again. That's kind of boring. But I just kind of wanted to explain to you guys why I don't really play this game or Forza in general, and also racing sims. And maybe it's a weird thing to you guys, and I could totally see that. Like this to a lot of people, they're like, excuse me, what? But it's just not fast enough. Like, I know that's weird, but like, I just don't get that sense of adrenaline and speed that I get when I'm playing something like Redout or, you know, Distance sometimes. And you can even compare this to Asphalt 9 or 8 in terms of the sense of speed. Like, when you activate Shockwave on your Bugatti Chiron, it just, like, you feel something sometimes, especially, like, on the Himalayas or something with the Jesco going 300 miles an hour. Like, that's insane. And doing jumps and all that sort of stuff, you can't really do this in this game. When you get a nice ramp in this game, you just kind of let the car go and just hope, you know, you land on your wheels. Oh, that was not good. I do kind of like the replay feature, although because the game is so slow, like it's kind of required. So if you mess up, like, I don't know. And also the fact that I think there's not too much verticality in the tracks. And so that kind of also creates just this kind of blandness in the game, and if you could say. And oh god, I just ran into a crap load of barriers there. Oh boy, there's an Evo right next to me. I'm going to pass him in my Audi TT because, you know, why not? I mean, oh, that's a traffic. I guess that kind of helped me. You know what? Thank you. Is that a Centenario? Alrighty. I guess we're gonna hopefully pass a Centenario here. And I believe that, oh, that's a Devo. And that's an awful churn. And we're going back. And I don't know, like for me, this has been the whole gameplay loop in my, you know, I believe almost like 10-ish hours of play time, I want to say, or something like that. It's just been this. And I don't know, it doesn't give me that like super rush that something like a game, like I said, Redout or Fast Racing Neo, or mainly like those futuristic arcade racers, those anti-gravity racers that unfortunately are not very popular these days. But you just go like so incredibly fast, and you're constantly on the edge of your seat. Like you always have to be on edge and just always be concentrating and all that sort of stuff. And of course in this game you do too. Like, you know, you can't make bad corners and stuff like that, like of course. But for me, it just doesn't feel like I'm in the moment. I feel like I'm just kind of watching someone else play the game, if that makes sense. Like I'm, oh god, traffic cars. And reverse. Here we go. Am I just gonna, yep, okay. You know, I'll take the L. Like, I don't care. Goodbye. I don't care. See, I know this was kind of a weird video. I usually don't do something like this. But I just kind of want to explain why you have never seen Forza on this channel before. And again, I'm not completely shutting this game down in any way. Like, I'm just giving my personal opinion as to why I don't enjoy games like this. And I'm not saying I will completely ignore all the other Forza games, because, you know, like I said, if the next game is set in like a big city and it, like, you know, you have that sort of Need for Speed Underground vibe or something like that, like, I would totally check that out. But I just kind of wanted to get my take on these types of racing games where they're more focused on, maybe not focused, but, you know, it's more realistic, I guess you could say, and more down to earth than other games. And just kind of, I wanted to explain why I didn't enjoy this that much. Like, there's certainly some enjoyable parts, but in my opinion, I wouldn't play this over a lot of other racing games. But my last point, and this is really the only thing I want to leave you guys with, if you take anything out of the video besides my whole Forza rant, just, I want you guys to kind of take this into consideration. Adding realism doesn't necessarily make something better. And that's something I've seen in the video game community a lot, is everyone's like, oh, this should be realistic, or this is better because it's realistic. And in my opinion, Forza is a great example of why that's not true. Now, again, people love this, you know, they love this game, and that's fine. Like, I have no problem with people enjoying this game. Like I said, objectively, this is a solid game. But for the experience I'm looking for, realism will not make it any better. I want those super unrealistic games that are set 2,000 years in the future. And in general, I think people should keep a bit more of an open mind when it comes to realism and stuff. Like, when I show people Asphalt, they're like, that's not realistic at all. Why would I want to play that? And then they go back to playing something like CSR or something like that. But in my opinion, I have way much more fun playing Asphalt than I do something like CSR, because it's less realistic, because there's more stuff you can do that you can't do in real life. So I just kind of wanted to mention that, and I'll probably make a separate entire video about that concept of realism doesn't necessarily make everything magically better, because I think that's a really important thing, especially in the video game community, because again, I see that whole argument, like, back in the day when people were arguing Battlefield versus Call of Duty, everyone was like, Battlefield's the better game because it's realistic. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, Battlefield is clearly not trying to be a simulation game. Like, come on, guys. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and my sort of insight as to why I don't really enjoy Forza that much. Again, objectively, it is a very solid game, and I'm definitely open to checking out the series in the future if, let's say, they go into, like, you know, a city. But yeah, that's why you probably will never see another Forza video on my channel. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.